Hello everyone. We are in the chapter Present Simple, and we've got to the lesson that deals with sentences. In this lesson, we will learn positive sentences, negative sentences, yes/no questions, that is questions, whose answers are yes or no, WH questions, which are, what, when, where, etc., and questions about the subject, who, or what. In this lesson, we will use all material that we have learned in this chapter, the Present Simple chapter. We will learn all the above things in parallel, and the studies will be mostly through using examples. Let's start. Positive sentences. The sentence starts with the subject, followed by a verb, or verb plus s, depending on the subject. Then comes the rest of the sentence. Danny goes to school every day. The subject is Danny. We add an es to the verb go, according to the adding s rules, because Danny is a he. The verb go turns into goes. The rest of the sentence is to school every day. They go to school every day. The subject is they, so the verb, according to the adding s rules, remains as it is, without adding an s. The rest of the sentence is to school every day. Examples: Dina, send me a letter once a month. Dina is a she, and therefore, the verb send should get an s. The verb send becomes sends. The sentence is, Dina sends me a letter once a month. They sleep in a hotel on holidays. The subject here is they, therefore, the verb sleep should not get an s and it remains as it is. The sentence is, they sleep in a hotel on holidays. Negative sentences. The sentence starts with the subject, followed by do not, or does not, depending on the subject. Then, a verb without s, and then comes the rest of the sentence. The term that expresses negation is, do not, or does not. The shortcut of do not, is don't, and the shortcut of does not, is doesn't. It is clear that, I, you, we, and they, get the do not, or don't, and he, she, and it, get the does not, or doesn't. Danny doesn't go to school every day. Danny is he, so we should use does not, or doesn't. The verb go stays as it is, without an s. The s was added to the do not, and it becomes does not, or doesn't. The rest of the sentence is, to school every day. They don't go to school every day. The subject is they, therefore, we use do not, or don't. The verb go stays as it is, without an s, and as we know, the rest of the sentence is, to school every day. More examples: Dina, not send me a letter once a month. Dina is a she, and therefore, we use does not, or doesn't. The verb send should stay as it is. This is how the sentence should be. Dina does not send me a letter once a month. Or, Dina doesn't send me a letter once a month. They not sleep in a hotel on holidays. The subject here is they, so we have to use do not, or don't. Here again, the verb sleep stays as it is. No s is added. The sentence is, they do not sleep in a hotel on holidays. Or, they don't sleep in a hotel on holidays. Yes/no questions. The question starts with do, or does, depending on the subject. Then comes the subject. After the subject comes the verb, without an s, and then, the rest of the question. Does Danny go to school every day? The subject, Danny, is a he, and therefore, we will start the question with does, and not with do. According to the structure above, the verb go stays as it is, without an s. Do they go to school every day? The subject is they, therefore we start the question with do and not with does. Here, the verb go also stays as it is, without an s. More examples. Does Dina send me a letter once a month? It should be clear by now, that Dina is a she, and therefore, the question starts with does. It is also clear, that the verb send, stays as it is, without an s. Do they sleep in a hotel on holidays? The subject is they, so the question, starts with do. The verb sleep stays as it is, without an s. Nothing more to add. WH questions. Let me list some of the WH questions first. What? When? Where? Why? Which? Who? How? How doesn't start with WH but is also a WH question. The question will always start with a WH question, followed by a do or does, depending on the subject. Then, the subject, followed by the rest of the question. Nothing else to explain. Let's just follow some more examples. Where does Danny go every day? The question starts with the WH question, where? We use does, because Danny is a he. Where do they go every day? This question also starts with the WH question, where? The subject is, they, which is why we use do. What does Dina send me once a month? The subject, Dina, is a she. That is why we use does. The using of does, cause the verb send, stay without an s, despite the fact that the subject is Dina. Where do they sleep on holidays? No need for any explanations. Questions about the subject. Question about the subject, will always start with who, or what, depending on the subject. If the subject is human, the question will begin with who. If the subject is not human, the question will begin with what. Example for who: David, the kids, my teacher, mother, and so on. All of them are human. Example for what: the dog, this chair, my car, your TV, etc. Not human. After the who or the what, there is a verb plus s. We always add an s to the verb, in the question about the subject. Examples: who goes to school every day? Who sends me a letter once a month? Pay attention that we add an s to the verbs. That's it. This is all the material. Now let's do some more examples. My dad, tell me a story every evening. Dad is a he, so we will use an s, and does. Positive. My dad tells me a story every evening. We added an s, to the verb tell. Negative. My dad doesn't tell me a story every evening. We didn't add an s to the verb, because the s was added to the do, which becomes does. Yes, no question. Does my dad tell me a story every evening? Here also, there is no s, for the same reason. WH question. What does my dad tell me every evening? No s for the verb. The s is already in the does. Question about the subject. Who tells me a story every evening? Please note, in the question about the subject, the verb always get an s. At this stage, the material should be clear. If it is not really clear, replay the video and listen to it again. We will do 3 more examples, and then, we'll enter the website to practice. David and Dan talk loudly all the time. David and Dan are they, and that's why we use do. We do not add any s to the verb. Positive. David and Dan talk loudly all the time. Negative. David and Dan don't talk loudly all the time. Yes, no question. Do David and Dan talk loudly all the time? WH question. How do David and Dan talk all the time? Question about the subject. Who talks loudly all the time? Pay attention. We must add an s to the verb, in the question about the subject. Mother, cook, for us great food every day. Mother is a she. The verb cook will get an s, and we will use does. That is how it should be. Positive. Mother cooks for us great food every day. Negative. Mother doesn't cook for us great food every day. Yes, no question. Does mother cook for us great food every day? WH question. When does mother cook for us great food? Question about the subject. Who cooks for us great food every day? Pay attention to the s that was added to the verb. You know why. The last example before we will start practicing. The children play football in the park every Friday. The children are they, so we use do. We will not add an s to the verb. Positive. The children play football in the park every Friday. Negative. The children don't play football in the park every Friday. Yes, no question. Do the children play football in the park every Friday? WH question. What do the children play in the park every Friday? Question about the subject. Who plays football in the park every Friday? Now is the time to enter the Grammarland homepage to start practicing. Enter the website via the link in the description area below the video. As usual, we ask you again to give us a share, like, and to subscribe to our videos. Any feedback you have will help us improve this course. Now enter our homepage via the link in the description area, or enter the next lesson, homework, via the link at the top of the screen. The Grammarland team wishes you lots of fun and success.